I never thought a simple phone call could completely change my life, but that's exactly what happened. It was a cool autumn afternoon in Newark, and the leaves were falling gently to the ground. I was enjoying the quiet when I noticed my phone screen light up with an unknown number. At first, I thought about ignoring it. I mean, who answers random calls these days? But something deep inside me told me to pick up. When I did, the voice on the other end froze me in my tracks. It had been years, but I knew immediately who it was. "Anna, it's Christina," she said. Her tone was strange, a mix of politeness and something else I couldn't quite figure out. "Christina," I replied, doing my best to keep my voice calm, though my heart was racing. "What's going on?" It had been years since I'd heard from Christina, my estranged sister. She wasn't calling for a friendly chat. Her next words were a bombshell. "Grandma passed away." I couldn't believe it. Our grandmother, the one constant in our family, was gone. But as I listened to Christina, I realized there was more to her call. Her voice carried an air of smugness that made my skin crawl. "I just wanted to let you know," she added, with a tone that sounded almost mocking. "I'm sure you're busy with your modest life." The words hit me like a slap. I could almost picture her smirking as she said it. But I refused to let her see how much it hurt. "Thank you for letting me know," I replied coolly. "I'll make arrangements to come." It wasn't just her words that hurt. It was the flood of memories they brought back. Growing up, Christina was always the golden child. She had our father's favor, his attention, and a natural charm that made life seem so easy for her. I, on the other hand, was the one in her shadow, always trying to prove myself, but never quite measuring up. Our relationship had been strained for years. The final blow came when she betrayed me in the worst possible way. Brian, my ex-fiancé, the man I thought I'd spend my life with, had left me for Christina. She used her charm, her manipulative ways, and stole him right out of my life. It wasn't just a broken engagement. It was a betrayal that left deep scars. After that, I cut ties not just with her but with the rest of my family. Our father, who had always favored Christina, made it clear where his loyalty lay. My mother, though caring, couldn't bridge the gap between us. So I built my own life far away from the chaos. I married Arthur, a kind and supportive man who works in tech. Together, we built a cozy, love-filled home in the suburbs. Our daughter, Abigail, is the light of our lives. At 5 years old, she's already an artist in the making, sharing her drawings on her popular YouTube channel. While my life may not be flashy, it's rich in love and happiness. But hearing Christina's voice again reminded me of the pain I had worked so hard to leave behind. This phone call wasn't just news about our grandmother. It was the beginning of a storm I wasn't sure I was ready to face. The call from Christina stirred up a storm of emotions I thought I had left behind. The idea of returning to the family home for our grandmother's funeral made my stomach twist. It had been years since I'd been back, and the memories were a bittersweet mix. Grandma had always been the heart of our family, the one person who believed in me no matter what. Her passing felt like the end of something irreplaceable, and now, with Christina's call, it seemed like I was being pulled back into a world I'd worked hard to escape. Over the next few days, I tried to prepare myself for the trip. Packing my bags wasn't the hardest part. It was the emotional baggage I knew I'd be carrying. Seeing Christina again was something I wasn't looking forward to. Her call hadn't just been to inform me of Grandma's death. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. With Christina, there always was. The day of the funeral arrived, and soon I found myself standing in front of the old family home. It looked exactly as I remembered it, and yet something felt different. The house seemed to hold whispers of the past, of our childhood laughter, arguments, dreams, and disappointments. Stepping inside, I was hit by a wave of emotions. The air was thick with grief, nostalgia, and unspoken tension. The rooms were filled with familiar faces. Some wore expressions of sorrow. Others had a guarded look, as if they had come not just to mourn but to observe, judge, or scheme. As I moved through the crowd, I saw her, Christina. She stood near a group of people, effortlessly commanding their attention.
She hadn't changed.
Her charm was still magnetic, and her presence reminded me of the old family dynamics I had tried so hard to escape. I kept my distance at first, unsure of how to approach her, or if I even wanted to. But Christina had other plans. During the ceremony, while people were delivering heartfelt eulogies, she managed to catch me alone. "Anna," she said, smiling in that way she always did, polite but insincere. "It's been a while." I forced a smile. "Yes, it has. How have you been?" "Oh, she said, her voice coated in false sweetness. "Life has been interesting." I could feel the familiar undercurrent in her words, the subtle digs and unspoken rivalry that had never truly disappeared. For a moment, we just stood there, exchanging pleasantries that felt anything but pleasant. It was clear to me then that this wasn't just about saying goodbye to our grandmother. It was about something deeper, about facing the unresolved past. Looking at her, I realized that this reunion wasn't just about mourning. It was about confronting everything I had avoided, the betrayals, the unspoken grievances, and the choices that had shaped who we both had become. Little did I know, this was only the beginning. I knew this encounter would bring revelations that could shake everything I thought I knew about my sister and our family. The days leading up to the funeral were tense, filled with emotions I had tried to bury. I kept busy with Arthur, Abigail, and our everyday life, but no matter how much I tried, I couldn't escape the thought of seeing Christina again. It wasn't just her. It was the whole family I had distanced myself from. Memories of the past were creeping in, and they weren't all happy ones. When the day of the funeral finally came, the atmosphere was thick with sadness and unresolved feelings. The family home, with its faded charm, was crowded with relatives and old friends. The house seemed alive, like it was silently watching over us, holding on to the echoes of our childhood, the laughter, the fights, and the secrets we'd hidden within its walls. As I entered the living room, I felt her presence before I saw her. Christina was there, as poised and confident as ever. Her polished appearance only reminded me of the rivalry that had always existed between us. It wasn't long before she made her way over to me, her smile softer this time, but still edged with something I couldn't quite trust. "I've been meaning to catch up," she said, her voice friendly but with a hint of curiosity. "It's been a while since we talked." I forced a polite smile, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Yes, it has. How have you been?" "Oh, Christina said with a dismissive wave of her hand. "Busy but good. I'm sure you've heard from the family how things have been for me." I nodded, though I wasn't entirely sure what she was referring to. The last I had heard, Christina was living a glamorous life in Jacksonville, full of success and luxury. At least, that's how the stories went. But I knew better than to believe everything I heard. With Christina, there was always more beneath the surface. During the wake, she made sure everyone knew about her so-called perfect life. She talked endlessly about Jacksonville, her upscale lifestyle, and her achievements. It was clear she was trying to impress, to prove her life was better than mine. I watched her with a mix of irritation and curiosity. Behind her confident facade, I could sense the same lies and manipulations that had defined her for years. She even brought up Brian Adams, my former fiancé, and now her ex-husband. Her casual mentions of him, her attempts to appear unaffected by their failed marriage, felt like she was reopening an old wound. Brian had once been my everything. We had plans, dreams, and a future until Christina, with her charm and cunning, took him away. The betrayal broke me, leaving scars that I thought had healed. Seeing her now, so nonchalant and proud, was a painful reminder of all I had lost. It wasn't just about Brian. It was about all the hurt she had caused. This encounter wasn't just about the funeral. It was forcing me to confront a past I had tried so hard to leave behind. I decided it was time to confront Christina about the past. I had carried the weight of her betrayal for far too long, and I hoped that talking to her might bring me some closure. As the crowd at the funeral began to thin out, I spotted her standing near the living room window. Summoning my courage, I approached her. "Christina, can we talk?" I asked, doing my best to keep my voice calm. She turned to me, her expression unreadable at first, but her eyes narrowed slightly. Of course. What's on your mind? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. I need to understand, I began. Why did you have to take Brian from me? What made you think it was okay to destroy what we had? For a moment, Christina's cheerful mask dropped, replaced by a colder, more calculating look. Anna, it's not about taking anything, she replied, her tone sharp. Brian and I had our own connection. You just didn't see it. Her words stung, but I wasn't going to back down. You manipulated him, I said, my voice rising with emotion. You knew how much I loved him. You knew what he meant to me. She shrugged, her indifference infuriating. Brian made his own choices. You can't blame me for that. Life doesn't wait for anyone, Anna. You need to move on. Her dismissive attitude only made my anger grow. You never understood, did you? I said, my voice trembling. It wasn't just about Brian. It was about everything. You always seemed to have everything handed to you while I was left struggling to prove myself. Her expression hardened, and her voice turned icy. Don't blame me for your shortcomings, she shot back. We all have our battles. Maybe if you had been more assertive, things would have turned out differently. Her words felt like knives, cutting into wounds I thought had healed. I wanted to lash out, to yell, but I forced myself to take a deep breath. This isn't just about Brian, I said quietly. It's about our family. It's about the way everything always seemed to work in your favor, while I was left behind. Before she could respond, a group of distant relatives approached, pulling us apart. The confrontation ended abruptly, leaving everything unresolved. I stepped away, my emotions swirling, and spent the rest of the evening in a daze. Faces blurred together as people offered their condolences, but my thoughts were stuck on Christina and the painful memories she had stirred up. The next day, as the funeral came to a close, I felt a mix of relief and unease. The family dynamics were as complicated as ever, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more beneath the surface. Christina's perfect life was starting to show cracks, and I was determined to uncover the truth. I left the funeral with a heavy heart, but a newfound resolve. The confrontation had opened old wounds, but it had also set the stage for deeper revelations. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face it. The days that followed were quiet, yet unsettling, as I prepared myself for what was to come. I kept replaying my confrontation with Christina in my mind, trying to make sense of it all. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the feeling that our family's issues were still deeply rooted and unresolved. My mother's apology, though kind, didn't fix the years of distance and pain. It felt more like a bandage on a wound that needed more than just words to heal. During this chaotic time, Arthur and Abigail became my safe haven. Arthur, with his calm and steady presence, never pressured me to talk about what was troubling me. Instead, he simply stayed by my side, offering quiet support. Abigail, with her youthful energy and curiosity, was my light in the darkness. She poured her heart into her YouTube channel, sharing her artwork with the world. Her joy and excitement were contagious and gave me something positive to focus on. But the calm didn't last long. Christina, ever dramatic, took to social media in an attempt to belittle me. Her posts were filled with sarcasm, painting herself as wildly successful while making veiled jabs about my ordinary life. It was frustrating to see her try to make herself look better at my expense, and it hurt to know she was doing this so publicly. That's when Abigail's YouTube channel became an unexpected tool in this battle. One evening, after seeing a particularly cruel post from Christina, I had an idea. Abigail and I decided to make a video, not to directly confront Christina, but to show the happiness and love in our lives. We created a heartfelt video featuring Abigail's art and moments from our family life. While it seemed innocent on the surface, we included subtle references to Christina's lies. It was our way of standing up for ourselves without stooping to her level. The video took off quickly. Viewers flooded the comments, praising Abigail's talent and the warmth of our family. It didn't take long for people to connect the dots, and the tide began to turn. Christina's carefully crafted image started to crack. People began pointing out the inconsistencies in her stories, and her social media posts were filled with criticism. The truth about her manipulations was finally coming to light. As the video went viral, Christina's reputation began to fall apart. The backlash on social media was harsh, and people started questioning the persona she had spent years building. Meanwhile, Brian, her ex-husband, was also struggling. The public attention surrounding their failed marriage and his involvement in this drama affected his professional life. He made a critical mistake at work, which led to him losing his job as a software engineer. The pressure of his personal and professional failures pushed him into a downward spiral. For Christina, the strain became too much to handle. Her perfect facade was crumbling, and with it, her sense of control. The fallout from this battle was far from over, and it was clear that the choices we made now would shape the future for everyone involved. Christina filed for divorce, cutting her final ties with Brian. Their son, Gabriel, became an innocent victim of their turmoil. With Christina's unstable situation, Gabriel was placed in a care facility, a far cry from the privileged life Christina had once proudly shown off. The cracks in the family's dynamics grew wider, forcing everyone to face the consequences of past actions. Amidst the upheaval, my mother approached me. She had always been more sympathetic toward Christina, but now she stood before me with tears in her eyes and an apology on her lips. "I'm sorry, Anna," she said, her voice trembling. "For everything. We should have treated you better. I see now how much pain we caused." Her words, though genuine, didn't erase the years of hurt. Still, I appreciated her honesty. It was a step forward, but healing would take time. I decided to keep our relationship polite but distant, focusing instead on what truly mattered, my own family's happiness and peace. With all the drama swirling around us, Arthur and I decided we needed a break. We planned a trip to an amusement park for Abigail, a day to escape the chaos and reconnect as a family. It turned out to be exactly what we needed. Abigail's laughter filled the air as she raced from ride to ride, her joy infectious. Arthur and I held hands, enjoying the simple moments that reminded us why our little family was so strong. The outing gave us a chance to step away from the shadows of the past and focus on the light of the present. Watching Abigail's excitement and feeling the warmth of Arthur's presence, I realized how far we'd come. This was our life, a life built on love, trust, and support. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and that was enough. As the weeks passed after our trip, a sense of calm began to settle over us. The chaos that had once shaken my world was fading, and I could feel a new balance taking hold. Christina's downfall was harsh, but inevitable. Her constant need to prove herself, her envy, and her manipulative actions had finally caught up with her. The divorce, the loss of her son's care, and her crumbling reputation were painful consequences of the choices she had made. Brian, too, was facing his own struggles. His dismissal from his job left him adrift, struggling to rebuild his life. But for me, these events felt distant, like echoes from a life I no longer lived. My focus had shifted entirely to my family and the contentment we had found together. Through everything, I learned a powerful lesson. The past may shape us, but it doesn't define us. With Christina's influence fading and my family thriving, I felt a renewed sense of hope. Our journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long while, I could look forward to the future with peace in my heart. Arthur and I worked hard to strengthen our relationship, leaning on each other for support. Despite the challenges we had faced, our bond only grew stronger. Our daughter, Abigail, was thriving in her creative pursuits. Her YouTube channel continued to be a source of joy and positivity, not just for her, but for all of us. Watching her grow, smile, and share her talent with the world reminded me every day of what truly mattered: family, love, and happiness. One day, I received a letter from my mother. In it, she poured out her feelings of regret, apologizing for how things had turned out and asking for forgiveness. Her words felt sincere, and I appreciated her reaching out. But I also knew that healing the rift between us wouldn't happen overnight. I responded with kindness, acknowledging her apology, while gently letting her know that rebuilding our relationship would take time and effort from both sides. The experiences we had gone through had changed our family forever. My parents' favoritism toward Christina and the fallout from those decisions had taught me valuable lessons about strength, forgiveness, and resilience. I realized that healing wasn't just about time, it was about understanding and choosing to let go of the anger that weighed me down. In those quiet moments of reflection, I found clarity. The pain of the past had brought Arthur, Abigail, and me closer together. Our little family had grown stronger, and our appreciation for each other had deepened. Whether it was sharing a laugh during dinner or enjoying a quiet evening together, the small, simple moments became our foundation for happiness. As summer gave way to the crisp days of fall, I felt inspired to create something meaningful. I began planning a community project that would help families work through conflicts and build healthier relationships. Drawing from my own experiences, I wanted to offer support and guidance to others who might be facing similar struggles. This initiative became my way of turning the pain of the past into something positive. Looking back, I could see how far we had come. The tense moments at Grandma's funeral, the shocking revelations, and even the battles on social media had all been part of a journey that shaped who I was. Christina's story served as a cautionary tale, but it also highlighted my own strength and determination to move forward with love and purpose. As I closed that chapter of my life, I felt a deep sense of peace. The road had been hard, but it had also been eye-opening. The future, once clouded by uncertainty, now felt full of hope and promise. With Arthur by my side, Abigail's laughter lighting up our days, and my community project taking shape, I knew we were building something beautiful. No matter what challenges lay ahead, I was confident in one thing: the strength and unity of our family would see us through anything. The love we shared was our greatest gift, and it would guide us as we embraced the future together.